Short answer, no. Middle answer, he may be enacting a law that allows him to use the military to arrest protesters. Long answer, hello Wolfram Pack Amigo thingies. You might have heard recently some rumors going around that today Trump could potentially be enacting martial law, and I want to clear up what's actually happening. On January 20th of this year, the same day that Trump came into office, he signed an executive order titled Declaring a National Emergency at the Southern Border of the United States, among many other executive orders. This executive order did quite a few things, but in Section 6B it says this: within 90 days of the date of this proclamation, the Secretary of Defense and the Secretary of Homeland Security shall submit a joint report to the President about the conditions of the southern border and any recommendations regarding additional actions that may be necessary to complete operational control of the southern border, including whether to invoke the Insurrection Act of 1807. So what is the Insurrection Act of 1807? According to this Brennan Center explainer, the Insurrection Act as a whole is actually an amalgamation of a few different laws. The Insurrection Act is an exemption to the Posse Comitatus Act, which forbids the U.S. military from taking part in civilian law enforcement. There are guidelines laid out for how the president is supposed to use this law, but they're so vague as to be useless. There are three main parts of this act, but for our purposes, we really only care about Section 253. You can read the highlighted section here in more detail, but Section 253 basically gives the president the power to deploy the military to use the civilian law enforcement for many reasons, and it's very vague. The local law enforcement doesn't have to agree with the military's decisions here. It's completely under the president's purview. Now, there are restrictions on this act that courts can enact, but again, pretty vague, and, well, I don't need to tell you why what the courts say doesn't really matter here. Trump cannot easily enact martial law. Here's the definition of martial law on screen. However, what he can do with this act is he could theoretically use the military as police to arrest protesters. He can also use it to deploy the police to go to the southern border to act as enforcement, which is also something he's likely going to do. Indeed, often the Insurrection Act has been used before to shut down protests. As it says here, early presidents like Washington and Adams used it, and Lincoln used it, and also other presidents used it to shut down worker protests and other stuff like that. The last time it's been invoked was 1992 when George H.W. Bush wanted to shut down the Rodney King protests in Los Angeles. The last time it was used against the state's wishes was when Lyndon Johnson did so in 1965 during the Civil Rights Movement. So theoretically, there could be some sort of anti-Musk protest in California, and Trump could have used this law. He could send in the military and round up all the people there and detain them. Indeed, it's quite likely that this would be a completely legal use of the act because it's so vague. I am recording this video before said report has actually come out, so I don't know if he's going to enact this law today, or, it could come in the following days or weeks, we don't know. It seems very likely, especially considering that during the Black Lives Matter protests in 2020, he did consider doing it, but he decided against it. So what should you do about this? In my opinion, the best action to take would be to stop going to these protests. Last time I spoke out against protests, I got a bunch of comments noting how I didn't point out any alternative, and that's fair. So here's three alternatives. Number one, you can join or try to start a union at your workplace, and I don't love this idea because I have many problems with unions on my own, but they are some form of worker organization. Preferably if you can make your union an explicitly political one, which is unaffiliated with any capitalist party in this country, that would be pretty great. Number two, learn how to use a gun and buy one for self-defense. And number three, my favorite suggestion, join a Marxist political party. And I mean actually Marxist, truly understands what communism is, not the CPUSA, not some dumb Stalinist or Maoist organization, and definitely, absolutely not the Democratic Socialists of America. Do not join. If it's affiliated with any capitalist party in this country, such as the Democrats, Republicans, the Greens, the Libertarians, anything like that, don't join it. And that's really the only suggestions I can give you. The best we can do right now is try and build up support for the workers' movement and create a strong party so that later, when material conditions change, we can strike. And no, I don't mean literally strike. I mean metaphorically strike. I mean, literal strikes aren't necessarily off the table, but they're often not that useful. Whatever, I'm not going to get bogged down in this. So yeah, that's all I have to say for now, and bye-bye Wolfram Pack Amigo thingies.